Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited. As you can see by the title, I'm about to go see Don't Breathe 2. It does not feel like it's been so long for me since last night I went and saw The Night House and I took you along with me. If you haven't checked out that video, I will link it here. And I get to go see another horror movie tonight, which is, I just feel so lucky. So I'm very, very excited. And thank you for all your comments on my last video. I am just as excited to take you guys along with me as you are to watch it. So it's just as much for me as it is for you guys. So today we're gonna go see Don't Breathe 2. I am not exaggerating. I just finished watching it. My laptop's here. And it is just, I love that movie. It's just such a solid horror movie and it's so compelling. If you don't know, it's about a bunch of younger adults who feel like they're stuck in their town and they have taken to robbing people. I don't want to get into like the nitty gritty of how, but you know, they're kind of like this threesome where there's like this love triangle, which is, it's like a soft kind of like side plot, but they break into this war veteran's house because they hear he has money. But little do they know that he is way more dangerous than they thought. The movie is something else. It's compelling. The tension is just high the whole time. But what I really like about it is the gore. There's such killer gore. And the reveals. The film gets very disturbing and it's quite surprising. I'm looking at you, Turkey Baster. And so this is Don't Breathe 2. I'm gonna just say right now, spoiler alert for the first one, because I'm going to have to talk about kind of how it ends since this is the sequel. So if you haven't seen it, maybe just skip forward a little bit on this video, skip to this number. But I believe this film is going to pick up where it kind of left off with the last one. I don't think that Rocky, played by Jane Levy, is coming back at all. But it's obviously going to continue from the main man from the first one. And maybe someone else is going to break into his house is what I think. Again, haven't seen the trailer, but I just don't think they're going to continue that storyline. But obviously what I had to say the spoiler alert for is he survived. So I didn't want to say that without giving a little alert about that. No more spoilers. The first one was written by Fede Alvarez and Rodo Sayers. Fede did direct the first one and Rodo is actually directing this one. So super interesting. They co-wrote the first one and now they're working on the second one together. I didn't see who's writing. Oh yeah, they wrote the second one as well. It says based on characters by. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. I obviously didn't want to look too much into it, but I hope it's just as disturbing in a way, because that's what I really like. I'm such a sicko, but that's what I really liked about the first one. If you haven't watched one of these videos before, my Come With Me videos, I take you along to the cinema and I give you my initial reaction of the film, and it's kind of a way for you guys to gauge. I obviously do it completely spoiler free. It's a way for you to gauge whether it's worth you taking the trip to the cinema or waiting for VOD. I try and put in descriptions so you know personally how you would feel about the film, and that's why I break it down into personal score, originality score, and scare score. So everyone's different, but today I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find out if I like Don't Breathe and if I would recommend it to you guys. Don't Breathe 2, I should say. Let's go. Hi friends. First off, I'm locking my car door before I say anything because there was, not trying to be funny, there was someone in the bushes before. I just got finished watching Don't Breathe. The laughter is because there was, unfortunately, some laughter in that cinema, which kind of says a lot already. Let's start off by saying Don't Breathe 2 is quite surprising because you don't actually have to have seen the first one. It can be watched as a completely different scenario. I'm just gonna say it. If you haven't seen the first one, watch the first one. Spoiler, kind of, yeah, I guess it is about the first one, but the man from the first one, we continue on with him. Many years later, I wondered if they were going to do a prequel situation, but really it's just him in a completely different scenario, and you don't really have to have the context of the first film to really understand him at all. They really pick up with a completely different path. He's just still up to his old tricks several years later. They are different tricks, let's get that straight, but he is still a bad man. The film, obviously I really want to like this. I want to like every film I see, but the film started off with a very interesting, strange approach to the story, starting with him and a young girl, and you try and understand their relationship. And this is what I'm saying, you can totally go into this not knowing anything about the prior situation, and this is a whole different situation he has with a girl. From here, we're introduced to the villains, who once again break into this guy's house. I'll leave it at that because there's so much to this film, which is really interesting. Unfortunately, though, all of the different twists, turns, and reveals, they're kind of unbelievable. And I know, obviously, we as horror fans go into the cinema knowing that we're going to have to suspend our belief for, some scenarios or what have you. But for this kind of film, especially coming off the first one and the whole vibe of the first one, which was quite intense, lots of tension, you're really in there with the characters, and it feels, although like a crazy situation, it could happen. It could happen. Maybe not on our Earth, but on some Earth. This one? No. This one is just so far-fetched, and the twists and turns sometimes seem fun, and I was really holding on going, oh yeah, maybe? And then it just gets to a point, maybe halfway, that is just so far gone. But I do want to say, I feel like this film would be the perfect movie to go see if you could go with a bunch of friends, or to save for VOD for a bunch of friends, because I went to the cinema by myself, but there was so many different groups in there, and everyone was laughing at the same points, which is probably not the desired effect of the film, I'll tell you that much. But it was just, it felt like almost like a early 2000s horror movie where there was just like almost like Wrong Turn, like the other Wrong Turns, not the new one, that, there's those cheesy, weird moments that you just kind of have to laugh because it's odd, and that is definitely in this film. There's like these crazy one-liners that are just all over the place, but I do think it's like a very convoluted story, because really at its core, what I feel like the film is trying to do is distract you and have you, just being thrown off. It's trying to not be predictable, because that was something that really played out well in the first one. Obviously, we all thought it was a simple, subgenre film about, like, it's almost like a sensory horror, where they go into this house and then other things happen. But this film, it's just all the other things. It's not the fun kind of simplicity of, cat and mouse must get out. There's so many cats and so many mouses. There's just like things going on all over the place. And it's kind of cheesy fun, I have to say. Although this film was not good, it was still just a really silly but fun watch, trying to see how they were going to dig themselves, and by themselves I mean the writers, dig themselves out of like this hole that they made. Some good things about the film: I really liked the gore. They have some really good gore in it, some really intense moments with that, which kind of follow on from the first one. They have that aspect down packed. I feel like these two writers who have worked on both of these together, they did try to keep it unpredictable, but it does get to a point where it's just kind of so far gone in such a strange direction that I didn't really care for the characters anymore, because it just doesn't seem believable. And I know we watch movies about aliens, they're totally real, but you know, ghosts and all that kind of stuff, but this one just really throws the logic out the window, which is a very strange thing to do in a horror movie that is not paranormal or anything like that, that's like, you know, quite realistic. So it's very interesting in that way. The cinematography I also had some issues with. I think they're just slight issues. The first one is quite a dark movie, obviously, because the man is blind. He utilizes dark moments. But this film, it felt like it was quite dark in some bits, but it was also really close up. I felt like I really wanted some wide shots and some, not like reveals, but just to understand the logistics, especially because in these kinds of movies, there's a lot of blocking that, which is the character's movements, you need to understand a amazing action scene or like an interesting sequence. So when it's too close and there's too much things going on, maybe that's when it gets a little bit unbelievable, because you can't really even see how this object could get there, and then they could be able to, you know, pull something off. So, I mean, that's just like a minor tweak. I would be very interested to hear what you guys think of that. What's really interesting about this film is that even though it is the same writers, and obviously they've crossed over and one's directed one, the feel of this film is so different to the first one. The first one was like slick and tight, and as I keep saying, the tension was just building the entire time, where this film, it takes place in different scenes, and there's just so much more to it, and it doesn't have that same slick, cleverly written material that really surprises you. You're just kind of trying to claw your way through it. But it also, even though it does seem so convoluted, it's kind of dumbed down, and I feel like they did that intentionally because they knew maybe it would be hard to follow. So things I really liked in the first one, this is not a spoiler, but you know, when he finds the shoes in his house and figures out how many people are there, you can see that happening and you can understand what he's doing. Where in this one, they explain every step as they go, and you know, they focus on one object or one thing to try and really explain to you what's going on, and I feel like it loses that witty, fast-paced kind of feel of the first one. It really just doesn't have that slick and tight, just perfected feel. So yeah, I am a bit let down, but it was just entertaining. So I'm not mad, but yeah, I am a little bit sad about it, I have to say, because if they could have pulled off a second one, it would have just been amazing. We might have had like a new franchise, but I can tell you, I don't think there's going to be a third one after this one. It's not the worst film ever by any means, and as I said, I do recommend watching it if you have like a group of friends that you kind of watch these movies with. It's like a fun, weird, cheesy movie, as I said, early 2000s definitely, especially with the one-liners, so I do think it's worth your time if you're into that. If you don't care about cheesy one-liners and you want to feel sucked into it and really in the moment, and you know, disturbed and go on a roller coaster ride, this is definitely a roller coaster ride, but it might not be the right one for you. I'm also very interested to hear what you guys have to say after you see the film, or just in general. What do you think about sequels that follow just one character from the first one and just a whole different situation? Because it does ask the question, were these writers trying to force something out of this story to try, because the first one was so successful, to try and like, you know, pull something else out of that hat? Is that the right analogy? Because obviously Fede is very successful, so I guess they're trying to pull more and see if there is more to be told from this story and from these characters. But I just wonder if it would have been better use of their time and our time if they just made a whole different story and not tried to take that character and kind of spin it a different way, because it seems like they really struggled to find a cohesive story. For my personal score, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I just didn't think it worked well for me, but I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about that. For originality, I'm going to give it a 4. It felt like a Frankenstein's monster of several different stories kind of sewn together, trying to make one original plot, but it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. And for scare, I'm going to give it a 6 because of the gore. I think the gore is the best part of this film, and I hope you guys also agree. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really enjoyed taking you guys along today. And next, I get to go take you to Candyman. And I will be seeing that on time. So this one is a little bit late. We had Don't Breathe come out a little bit later here in Australia. So I can't wait to go see that with you. If you have not subscribed, please do. I do videos every single week talking about horror movies, talking about thrillers, and giving you so many recommendations. So I'd love to have you here, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let me know if you watched Don't Breathe, what you thought of it down below. Let me know your favorite gore scene maybe. Just, you know, type it at the bottom of the comments. You can just write like spoiler and then, you know, enter, type it in there. I love reading those and I love hearing your opinions. I would love it if you guys loved it more than me, because then it's meant for someone, just maybe not me. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.